The mansion on Hillsworth Lane shimmered with gold lights and fake laughter. It was the kind of party where no one actually listened. They just waited for their turn to be seen. Expensive suits, shiny dresses, people bragging about private jets and art they didn't even like. At the center of it all stood Ryan Caldwell, 32, clean-cut, sharp-tongued, and very rich. He had just made another investment that added 7 digits to his bank account. This party was to celebrate him, like always. And Ryan loved the spotlight, even more when he had someone to mock in front of it. "She actually thought I was serious," he said with a smirk, sipping champagne. His friends laughed. "You invited her? For real?" someone asked. Ryan leaned in, grinning. "I told her she could come if she ever felt like she deserved more than a mop. She said she'd think about it." "Man, that's cold," someone said, chuckling. "She cleans the floors at my gym," Ryan continued, "always humming those old R&B songs. Probably thinks she's Beyoncé's cousin." Everyone laughed louder. To them, she was just the cleaning lady. Her name barely mattered. Until the front doors opened. Every neck in the room turned, every conversation stopped. There she stood, not in a uniform, not holding a mop, not with dust on her clothes, but in a deep emerald green dress that fit like it was made for royalty. Her hair was pulled back, makeup flawless, posture straight as a ruler. She didn't look nervous. She looked ready. Ryan blinked like he didn't believe his own eyes. The woman walked forward slowly, heels clicking on marble, eyes scanning the crowd. Some people moved aside without even realizing it. She stopped a few feet from Ryan and gave a polite smile. "You said I could come," she said softly. "If I ever felt like I deserved more than a mop." Someone laughed awkwardly in the back. Ryan forced a smile. "I didn't think you'd actually show." She raised an eyebrow. "That's the difference between us. I don't go where I'm needed. I go where I'm uninvited." The room fell into complete silence. And in that quiet, Ryan felt something he hadn't in years. Uncomfortable. Ryan's smirk wavered, just slightly. He tried to play it cool, holding his glass steady, but his eyes kept flicking to her dress, her earrings, the way she stood taller than half the women in the room. She didn't belong here, not according to his world, but somehow she made the others look out of place. The woman turned slowly, scanning the crowd. Some guests tried not to stare, others whispered. A few smiled nervously, clearly unsure what side to stand on. Then she did something no one expected. She walked up to the piano. The band had stopped playing when she entered, but now she looked at the man sitting on the keys and asked, "Do you know Stormy Weather?" He nodded, clearly recognizing her. "Yes, ma'am." She nodded once. "Then let's make the storm worth it." Her voice floated through the room like silk, smooth, deep, and heartbreakingly rich. No microphone, no music tricks, just raw, soul-stirring power. People forgot to sip their drinks, phones lowered, even the servers paused mid-step. When she hit the last note, someone clapped. Then more. And suddenly the room filled with loud applause, the kind that didn't feel polite but honest. Ryan looked stunned. He hadn't planned for this. He had expected embarrassment, discomfort, maybe even an awkward laugh. But not this. One woman leaned toward him and asked, "Who is she again?" He hesitated. "Just the cleaning lady." But even he knew that line didn't hold anymore. After the applause died down, she stepped off the platform and headed straight for the champagne table. She poured herself a glass without asking, raised it high and said, "To second chances, and to the fools who think we don't deserve them." Some guests raised their glasses. Others looked away, unsure whether to be offended or impressed. Ryan stood still, glass still full. She sipped, smiled, then turned toward him again. I cleaned your floors, she said calmly. Heard every word you said about people like me. Now look where I'm standing. He didn't respond. Couldn't, but she wasn't done. Funny thing is, she said, lowering her voice just enough for only the front row of guests to hear. You might have thrown the invitation as a joke, but what I'm about to do next, that part, won't be funny. And just like that, she walked away. No one laughed this time. She moved through the room like she owned it now, not loud, not flashy, but with a quiet confidence that made people move aside. Eyes followed her, but no one dared speak first. They were waiting, sensing something bigger was coming. And they were right. A man in a navy suit approached her near the back lounge. Not a guest, not a waiter. He whispered something in her ear, then handed her a slim folder. She opened it, scanned the papers inside, and smiled. Not the kind of smile people give when they're happy. The kind they give when they've just confirmed the truth they already knew. Then she walked back to the center of the room, lifted the champagne flute, and tapped it gently with her ring. The room quieted instantly. I didn't come here for revenge, she began, voice calm. But since you opened the door, I might as well walk through it. Everyone turned to Ryan. She held up the folder. This house, this party, this little empire you love to show off. It stands on a foundation that was stolen. Years ago, a woman cleaned offices at one of your father's companies. She got sick. They fired her without severance. That woman was my mother. Ryan's face stiffened. People looked from her to him, unsure if it was true. He stayed silent. She worked herself into the ground. We lost everything. You want to know why I was scrubbing your gym floors, Ryan? She stepped closer. Because the lawsuit she filed? The one your family buried? I found it. And so did my lawyer. She tossed the folder on the glass table. Some of the papers slipped out. Contracts, emails, old legal documents. This isn't just a party anymore, she said, eyes steady. It's also the pre-celebration of a very public case. Ryan finally stepped forward. You don't know what you're talking about. She leaned in and whispered just loud enough. Then sue me for slander. I'll wait. Gasps rippled through the room. People began filming again. Guests who had laughed earlier now looked at Ryan with wide eyes. She turned, raised her glass one more time. To all the ones who got overlooked, forgotten, stepped on. And then, like it was any ordinary night, she placed her glass down and headed for the exit. But right before she reached the door, she stopped and looked back. Oh, and one more thing, she said softly, with a little sparkle in her eye. I'm not the cleaning lady anymore. I bought the company last week. Ryan stood frozen, mouth open, as every guest slowly turned toward him, and she walked out with every camera following her like she was the only name that mattered now. Ryan didn't speak for the rest of the night. He stood there surrounded by luxury, drowning in silence. The guests, once laughing by his side, now whispered in tight circles, throwing glances that stung sharper than any insult. The woman he tried to humiliate had left the building, but her words hung heavy in the air, louder than the music that never came back on. By the next morning, her face was everywhere. News outlets ran the headline, "Cleaning lady turns the tables on Millionaire. Legal battle could cost him everything." Clips of her speech played on every social feed. One shot showed her leaving the mansion, chin high, a soft smile on her face. It went viral. They called her the DIVA in green. Ryan tried damage control. His PR team begged him to stay quiet, but he couldn't. He released a statement claiming it was a misunderstanding. That only made it worse. Screenshots of old text messages surfaced, ones he'd sent about her, calling her names, mocking her life. People dug deeper. They found old complaints against his father's company. It all started to unravel. Meanwhile, she didn't rush into interviews. She waited. When she finally appeared on national TV, she wore a simple black dress. No diamonds, no show, just truth. "I didn't come to that party looking for revenge," she told the host. "I came because I was invited, even if it was meant as a joke. I just decided not to play the joke the way they expected." The host asked her what she wanted now. Money? An apology? She smiled and said, "What I want. I want women like me to be seen before we need to shout. I want dignity not to depend on a dress. And I want them to know we've always been more than what they assumed." Applause filled the studio. The court case moved fast. Ryan's family tried to settle, but she refused. She wanted the truth on record. It came out that her mother had been unfairly fired, denied treatment, and blacklisted from every cleaning company they could reach. She died working nights for minimum wage, and still singing that same R&B song her daughter later hummed through pain. The judge ruled in her favor. Ryan lost millions. She used the settlement to start a foundation, one that offered benefits, respect, and upward paths to workers like the one she once was. She named it after her mother. And years later, when she was asked how she survived it all, she gave the same answer every time. "I walked into the party they laughed at me for entering, and I made sure I was the one they talked about when it ended." The screen faded to black, and the words appeared. "Never underestimate the quiet ones, especially when they've been cleaning up your mess all along."